start with your name.
Marion Brownlie.
Marion Brownlie?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm an author. I've just written a book called Facing Demons, and it's about healing work, the healing work I do. Well, my real passion is helping people to move energies from that mix up in their auras. Really, I suppose if you're going to go to the extreme, some people would call it exorcism work or clearance work or rescue work. A lot of schizophrenics are really people who are just in trouble, because a lot of people who get into trouble are very sensitive people, very psychic people anyway, and so they're quite in tune with spirit automatically, and a lot of your people who you could say have mental problems really have this sort of a problem because they're very much in touch with spirit anyway, but they've never learned to control it, or they've or sensitive people who have taken drugs or something, and they've not learned to control what's happening, and they end up possessed, you could say, often, and often that's called schizophrenia, where people talk to them. They say so and so is talking to me. Well, so and so is talking to them. And from everything I've done, that is absolutely true for me. And it's true for the people who know it's happening. Young ones are really excellent to work with. If they're really in trouble. And this young guy, he was at school. And he was a real bad dude at the school. He carried a flip knife in his sock, and he was expelled from, sent home from school every second day. Never, when he went to school, that was, and he just had no friends. And he was a badass at school. No friends, no nothing. Bad report cards, bottom of his class. And out of desperation, his parents had heard about me, and they sent him to see me. Well, as soon as that young child sat down, he was about 13, and I said to him, so what's up? And he told me exactly what was happening. He said, oh, I've got so-and-so who comes and he makes me do this, and I can't stop him making me do it. And it's sort of like he came in and controlled his body. And he sat there and told me exactly what was happening. And as soon as I got him to, I use hypnotherapy to help people to relax, to get them into a trance state or a meditative state or prayer state. It's all the same sort of thing. So that often I'll contact that entity or spirit that's there and just get them to move on and leave the person alone. So once I'd done that with him, he said, he just felt fantastic. And I actually got a testimonial from him a few years later when I ran into him again. And he said that, he was top of his class, he had lots of friends, his life was so cool, and he was just the happiest kid you'd ever lay eyes on. And that's all it took. Family member can cause trouble sometimes if they don't pass over properly, especially if the family's into a lot of gambling or the things that are addictive things. If the whole family's involved in addictive sort of personalities like alcoholism or drugs or even gambling and stuff like that, all the addictive forms of things, and a person in that family passes over who is also been involved in those sort of things, often because of their addiction to that earthly habit. It can also be people addicted to money. They won't pass over properly sometimes, and they can come back and cause trouble around the family and sort of work through one of the family members. That can happen, but it's not always the case. Often it's quite random who comes in. When you pass over, you are still you are still I'm still Marion when I pass over. The only difference in me is I don't have my body. You can still see, you can still hear, you can still sense. You're still an individual spirit. So just because you die, you aren't suddenly purer than now. You are still who you are with your shortcomings or whatever. And that's where the addiction, it doesn't just go away. That's why they want to come back and manifest on this earth plane, because they need a body to manifest through. So that's where they like to find someone they can work through. One of my sons has come, when he was, I'll tell you this little story, because when he was 11 years old, he came to me, and I hadn't had much to do with this at all. I just started learning about spiritual, the love and the light, and sort of tuning my vibration and meditation. And anyway, one day he came, I was sitting up in bed, and he came and sat down beside me and he said, look Mum, he said, it's time that I've got something to tell you. I've been told that it's time to tell you, that you've grown up enough for me to tell you this. And I looked around at him, and he was this, to me, I just saw this wizened little old man sitting there. He just, no way was it my son sitting there. And he started talking, and he told me I can remember being chosen to come to this earth for a specific purpose. I have been chosen to be here. I remember choosing you to be my mother and coming to you as a ball of light, and learning to, and growing inside you. And he could tell me the whole deal about coming and being, in utero and being born, and that he was here, he'd been sent here with a specific purpose, basically to help Earth and to keep in touch with what's happening on Earth, so that he could let his, you could say, contacts, I suppose, in space know. Dreams are often can be prophetic, where they tell you about your own future and where you need to go and what you need to do, or they can give warnings about things that are going to happen. And when we lucid dream, I think sometimes we are in touch with more of ourselves and maybe other lives that we might be living simultaneously. And we actually go to, we actually get glimpses and senses of that lifetime.
So what can you tell us about your book?
Well, it's on the sort of healing work, and and it's also on just helping people to realise personal awareness, personal responsibility, and the sort of work I've done, I've sort of woven my life story through it, and how I've learned my craft, you could call it, and the journey I've been on to learn that. But it's also to help people to learn and be more aware of reality, you could say, and not to fear, because fear is the biggest. If whatever you fear, you do draw towards you, and fear is the most debilitating emotion a person can feel, really. If you can learn, the more you can learn to live life without fear, the more in tune you will be with yourself, because in reality, what is there to fear? There is really nothing to fear. It all just is. Right. And it's the same as, you talk about good entities and bad entities, and I can talk about God or the devil, but it all just is. It's not. But because of language, we need to use good or bad and black and white, or devil and God, or else we can't express it. But I'd rather be able to express it without having to use any of those words and just say it all just is. That's why most people know someone who will just have a suddenly change character. They'll be someone, they'll be themselves, and they'll just change character. And that is often when they've changed, when the spirit has changed in the body. And you'll notice it through the eyes, because the eyes are, through every nationality, are said to be the windows to the soul. So when you see a person's eyes change, trust what you're seeing, because you are seeing that spirit change in that body. So they might, they'll speak through the same body, they might act differently, but we're used to, they're just having a bad day, or in actual fact they're having a real bad day, because they're not really in their own body. They've been pushed aside by someone or something else often.